everyone, and a very interesting show tonight. Manchester United prepared to trigger the release clause for Joshua Zirkzee of Bologna, £34 million, around about €40 million it equates at on the current exchanges. And yeah, pretty exciting stuff. We will also have a little look at an interview done by Sir Jim Ratcliffe, some interesting comments, some interesting thoughts from the owner as well. And as well as that, we'll have a look and a little bit of a reaction to the European Championships today. Two very interesting matches. Of course, we had a late equaliser in Serbia-Slovenia, and then we had a very disappointing match from the England point of view against Denmark, where Denmark probably should have won that match as well. Very interesting day in the European Championship. Still have another match to go later on tonight, and that is Spain versus Italy. That will be a good one to watch. But let's get moving on to Zirkzee. This is United. It's United Channel. Let's get talking about it. We actually have a tangible update from a very, very good reporter, and that reporter is James Ducker. Now, James Ducker, I would put him up there, maybe slightly below a David Ornstein or a Romano. But whenever someone like Ducker comes out with a pretty definitive article and a pretty definitive statement about a player, then yeah, I'm inclined to believe it. I'm probably going to believe it, and I think that this is looking like a deal United's going to do. It does look like we're going in for Zirkzee. It does look like he will be attempted to trigger that release clause, and it's about agreeing a deal with the agent. I can see that happening pretty easily. I think there's been issues with the commission for a while between him and AC Milan, and it's an exciting deal. I'm a big fan of Zirkzee in a lot of ways. I don't think he's a typical striker for us, and I don't think he's like for like with Højlund as well. So you've got different dynamics, you've different players who can do different things, and I'm a fan of Zirkzee's. Now, there are worries and concerns with what he brings. Does he necessarily give us everything we miss up front? Probably not. Does he give us a hatful of goals? Is he a prolific striker? I mean, last season he got 12 goals in something like 34 matches in the league. So it's a goal every other game or so. He isn't overly prolific, but I do think he probably comes in and makes the attack better. He helps to link us up on the top end of the pitch. That could help your Rashfords and your Garnachos. He works well with midfielders who like to go forward as well. Looking at a Bruno there. Maybe you're looking at a McTominay or Mason Mount, perhaps. Kobe Minu. You know, players like that who we want to be seeing making runs from deeper. He can link up very nicely with them. Did it all season last year with Lewis Ferguson. He's an exciting player. Quick player. Good on the ball, and he's a very different profile to Højlund, and I think that's a good thing. You know, we don't want two players the exact same. We want to have differences, so we have different options, and there'll be times when Zirkzee will be better, and there'll be times when Højlund's a better option. Maybe Zirkzee's more effective against low blocks who don't really want to come out. He can drag centre backs around. He's very good with his movement. Does have things to work on, perhaps, but I do think there's definitely a talented player in there. Very good player for Bologna last season. Well worth a look at. Now, down below, I have some comments. I want to go down from you guys. Nubis says it's coming home. Yeah, very disappointing match from the England point of view. Very hard match to watch as well. As a neutral, you know, the first half, not particularly exciting. Second half, yeah, Denmark very unlucky and very, very uninspiring. If you're an England fan right now, you're bound to be fuming. You have to be fuming, because I think everybody knew what to expect with Southgate's team coming in, that they would get that first goal and sit back and defend. But then he doesn't play the right players in the right position, doesn't bring the right players to do that kind of football, and you know, it just doesn't work. It just does not work out. But on the United side, Joshua Zirkzee does look like a deal that United's really pushing for. Can we get it done? Can we get it agreed? I think we will. I think we'll get it done. AC Milan had been in for Joshua Zirkzee for a long time. They've always struggled to get the deal done with his agent. There isn't a good relationship there. Apparently United can get a better relationship going with the agent, which will be key. Hopefully not too much of an agency fee as well. I think we're talking from £15 million the other day for an agent fee to around about 7.5, 10 million. So it's coming down. I'm sure it will come down some more as well. And he's a good player. He's a good player. Jarl is on there. It's coming home somewhere, but not to England. Nubis at the media said United want to sign Southgate. Yeah, I'm glad we didn't do that. Look, anybody who's followed the channel for a while will know that at times last season, and even now, I still have my doubts over Erik ten Hag. I think that he has to improve as a coach and make us a better team in terms of our system and our press and our midfield and stopping so many shots, scoring more goals. I think Ten Hag has improvement to make on his own regard. But I'm very happy that we kept Eric Ten Hag if Gareth Southgate is the only option we could have went for, because that England team just looks so poor. They look so poor, so without a clue or an idea of what they're meant to be doing on that pitch. And yeah, for me, it's an interesting one. Like, I think if they come up against France or Germany, they probably get beaten. Denmark maybe just lacked the quality to beat them, but they were so much better set up, so much more secure on the ball. Robert's on there, FC interested. To be fair, Robert, I will give you that. I always say that we're monitoring FC or watching FC, interested FC. We're looking at, we're thinking, we're considering. But I do think that there's actual tangible legs in this story, and I do think that this looks to be a deal that we're going to try and do. Look, it's coming in from Jim Stucker. Let me quickly put this tweet in here just so you guys can have a little read at it. This is exact words that I've got in front of me, so I think it's good to share them with you guys as well. And that's coming from James Ducker. Very good reporter from The Telegraph. Let me just quickly do that there. I'll just do this here, guys. You guys can have a little check. This is what we are going for. And there we go. So that's direct from James Ducker's own Twitter account, and it's across the internet as well. So it is a deal that's going to get done, in my opinion. I thought I maybe was frozen there, but I am not. So it's good to see everybody back. Who have I got in the comments? I have Bart down there. Zirkzee's like Kane, except he's not as prolific. He'll bring Rashi into the game, and most of all, he's mobile. I think that's good, Bart. That's the kind of different profiles and dynamics that you need. Not everybody can be the same type of player. We want to have different people for different jobs, and that's good. We need our depth, and we might see some people come out and say, is this going to hurt Højlund's development? Is this going to hurt such and such development? If we sign a right winger, is that going to hurt Amad Diallo? We were always saying that we want to have depth in our team, and being able to make changes, keep everybody full of energy, rotate, avoid injuries, have different options there, so that we're not playing some of the teams that we had to field last season, with Johnny Evans, Lindelof, Harry Maguire in a back line, or looking around in putting Casemiro in defence and stuff. We want to have options and depth so that we can avoid injury crises, we can get people onto the pitch, and we can play our best football. And I think that's the way forward for Manchester United. I really do. Anthony's on there. Zirkzee, completely different profile to Højlund, but in a progressive system, he'll be perfect for our hold-up plays and link-up plays. Yeah, absolutely, I agree with you, Anthony. And I think I would have a little look back at some of Anthony Martial's better seasons. I think you'll find when Martial was playing well under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, United were scoring a lot of goals. Rashford was getting goals, Bruno Fernandes getting goals, Mason Greenwood at the time getting goals, and Martial himself as well. I think that kind of facilitating striker can be beneficial to have as an option. And if you look back on those teams, I think Ollie's best season we finished second. We had two very different striking options that year. We had Edison Cavani, very much a poacher, very much a box finisher, and then you had Anthony Martial, a player who will link the play, bring others in, and it worked for a large extent. And I think that's maybe something positive we can work towards. Trying to implement that kind of different options, different ways to play, and it's going to make us more unpredictable. And I think the more unpredictable you are, the harder it's going to be to set up against you, the harder it's going to be to stop you scoring goals. And hopefully this can make us a more lethal attack going forward. That's got to be the big hope. That's got to be the big hope. I have Anthony, same profile as Harry Kane, and with the right system, his output will match that if not surpass it. Probably not at the minute. Like, I'll be realistic. I don't think it's going to happen at the moment, but I think potential. He can get up to a very, very high level. Joshua Zirkzee in the right environment. He needs the right environment. Bayern Munich was not the right environment for him at the time. Obviously, he's went to Bologna. Thiago Motta has really brought him on as a player, and it's good to see that there. Nibis is down there. Joshua Zirkzee's agent, Kia Jorbakan, has asked United for $8 million in commission, which is instead of 12 and a half, which he's asked for Milan. Yeah, apparently it comes down to agent relationships. He's got a very bad relationship with West Ham. But I don't know, like, some of these players maybe need to be better advised. You know, if they want to move and the move can happen, it shouldn't come down to whether your agent gets a big payout of it as well. They've got to start thinking about these. Jaden's down there. Have you watched him play? Yeah, I watched him play a few times this season for Bologna. Always kind of impressed me as a player who got in the ball, could run with it, bring others in. His spatial awareness is pretty good. Now, look, I don't think he's perfect by any means. I don't think maybe he's the most physical of player. I don't think he wins a lot of headers. He's not aerially dominant, but he's got his own skill set, and hopefully that can be complementary to what we have around us. And I think that's going to be key. You know, if we can get more goals out of our Garnachos and our Rashfords, our Brunos, you know, that's going to help us as much as getting more goals out of Hoyland. And hopefully we can do both at the same time, have different options, not have to play the same players every single match. And it gives people a break. It gives us, you know, what we really want to see in our team going forward. Let me see, what have I got down here? Anthony, I think we'll end up paying 40 million. We'll end up negotiating the agent fees, something that AC Milan will fail to do. Yeah, I will agree for that. You'll say you will struggle to find a striker for the fee of Zirkzee. Yeah, absolutely. I think fee is a big one. Very, very important, because there was a report went out maybe 3 or 4 months ago. I don't know if you guys remember this, but the talk was that Manchester United and Ineos, the plan was going to be shop around and try to buy players, firstly at clubs who are financially struggling, but secondly players who have been doing well and have a release clause. And I think that's a big one. You know, a release clause gives us a guaranteed price, and we can't go wrong. We can't mess it up if it's a release clause. And I think this is an example of that. There's no surprise that we're being talked about looking at Elise, for instance. That's another player with a release clause. There is a fullback as well that I would like to tell you guys about, who we are also having a look at with some interest, a French left back. Let me see if I can pull that story up. I'll touch on that as well. Nibus is done there. To be fair, Kai didn't ask the agent fee. Zirkzee's already gone to Milan by now. I think we should be thankful if we get him. Yeah, I'd be very happy if we get Joshua Zirkzee. I've been a fan of his for most of this season. He really caught my eye around about November kind of time. So a player worth watching out for sure. Bart said we should look at Somerville. He's young, cheap, and Dutch. Yeah, that seems to be half the battle there for United. But yeah, certainly I think he is a decent option. Somerville, very, very good player at Leeds United. And whether or not we can do a deal with Leeds, that's kind of the question. But there was talk about United going in for a young French left back. Let me see if I can quickly pull his story up. It came from Attacking Football, who are a pretty good source. And they're just a new company really starting out. Let me see. Wasn't Zirkzee? I think it might have been Loco. Let me see if I can find this here a wee minute, guys, as well for you. I want to give you guys the news whilst we can. I have Tom down there. Gas it up as much as you want, but he's behind Gakpo, Weghorst, and Luke de Jong. Yeah, but look, I'm not going to be too bothered about that, about standings in the Dutch team. They weren't going to take several key players. That's up to Ronald Koeman, really. I'd be more interested in his club work, what he did for Bologna this season. That's where I think the progressions come from. You know, very much so that you will find with a lot of these international teams, there is favoritism. There's absolutely going to be favoritism and stuff in it. And one of those there, once you look at in that Dutch team, is Memphis Depay still playing in there. So many players he probably should get in there. Yes, guys, finally got the player. United are amongst the clubs looking at Stade Brest left back Bradley Loco. Competition in the Premier League comes from Arsenal and Man City as well. €15 million release clause there. That could be a potential left back signing. We know we want to bring in a left back. Let me put that in there as well for you guys. You guys can check him out later. Good player, and it's a good guaranteed price. And suddenly things look like they're starting to add up. You know, we've gone in for Brantwaite. That's a deal that we've put the bid on the table. We've walked away for now. The plan is to wait until Everton start to get desperate. Their finances need to be in order before the 31st of June, so 11 days. And if they're not, then they're going to get hit by another points deduction in the next Premier League season. Probably still going to get one regardless of what happens. with relation to their finances by the end of the summer, but they need to do it by the end of June as well to improve their position. Tom said that's nearly 120 million for 20 goals between. Yeah, it's one of those, buddy. It's one of those. I don't think by any chance that Zirkzee's the perfect player. I just think 35 million. It's a good price for me. I think 22 years old, got a lot of development in him, come on a lot this season, a lot of talent, and I think he just gives us something really different. You know, it's kind of a testimony to United to how much money we can spend. You know, I don't think I think I would say maybe that who was it? I think Hoyland maybe cost what, like 60, 70 million. That's just bad transfer dealings from us, you know. Hoyland should have cost 40 million. You know, get Zirkzee for a guaranteed price. That's not too bad. I'll take it. Anthony says, every time I watch him play, it reminds me of a young Harry Kane, but with a higher ceiling. I think he's faster than Harry Kane. I think maybe there's more development there, but I think Harry Kane, I think he'll do very well to reach Harry Kane's level. And if he does, like, what a player you've got then. Absolutely fantastic. I've got RD United. Good to see you, Rich. No idea if it's a good price. I think United getting any player for 35 million is a good price for us, genuinely, because we were just known for spending so much, guys, as we all know as well. Nubis says 15 million is a fair price. We ain't getting Aitnuri or Kirkez for 15 million. No, we're not. We're not. And I think Bradley Luco has had a pretty good season. Brest were one of the surprises in the French league this year. I think they might have finished in a European place. Let me just quickly check that one. Very much unexpected, but they finished third in Ligue 1, so they're probably going to be in a Champions League spot for next season. So, you know, they had a very good season by their standards. So, you know, absolutely could be an interesting move. Whether or not he wants to make the move, whether or not he goes to Arsenal or City or whatever, I don't know. But it's good that we're knocking around these kind of players, and that's the kind of player I think that we will be having to look at as well. You know, £15 million, it's not too much of a hit, regardless of what level of performance you get out of him. It's something similar to Tyrell Malacia, maybe, who should be coming back at some point as well. I'm not too sure what's going on there. Big ups to Stephanie as well. Guys, we'll move on to a little interview that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's done today. Some interesting quotes about the future of the club, his vision for where we want to go, and where he's looking to take us, you know, in the immediate future, in the short-term future, and then into the longer-term future moving forward in the next couple of years. Very interesting interview. I'll bring you guys some of the highlights of that right now as well. Will not bother too much about him talking about politics or whatever. I think one of the interesting ones he came out with, UEFA have told us we can sell him to another Premier League club, but we cannot sell him to Man United. That's not fair on the player, and I don't want to see what that achieves, says Sir Jim Ratcliffe on Jean-Claire Todibo. That's expected. You know, there's clearly issues there. I don't know why it's not affecting the RB clubs, with Sesko, why it's not affecting City, with Savio, why it's not affecting Watford and Udinese, who have done 50 transfers between those two clubs with their dual ownership model as well. But anyway, Radcliffe said there's a lot of room for improvement. We look at United, we want to improve everything from the ground up. We want to be where Real Madrid are right now today, but that will take time. So that's the kind of ambition that I want to see as well. I want to see that there. Stephanie says we're on 20 likes. Yeah, guys, drop a like in the video. We've got 40 people in here. Let's even get up to 40 likes on the stream. Anyway, Radcliffe on some other stories, which I think is kind of interesting. He was saying United's net spend since the departure of Sir Alex Ferguson and David Gill is £1.1 billion. Real Madrid's net spend is £200 million. In today's market, they have 6 or 7 players valued at over £100 million. United do not have a single player valued at that amount. They have also managed to get the funding to make their brand new Bernabeu Stadium as well. So we're kind of seeing where Radcliffe's priorities are going to be. He's looking to get good deals done. He's looking to get United not spending less money, but spending better. I think that's key. You know, we're going to have to spend big money to get to where we want to be. You know, there's no getting away from that. We can't do this on a shoestring budget with wheeling and dealing. We got to spend big money on good players. But it's identifying your good players, it's making sure they're hits. You know, you look at Arsenal, you look at City, they spend big money every year, but they mostly hit the ground running for the most part. A lot of their big signings do. And that's the kind of level that we need to get to as well. He's been talking on Erik ten Hag's future as well. He says, "For me, the coach isn't the central issue at United. It's a sports club. It needs to be competitive and it needs a degree of intensity, but with a supportive side to it, because you're dealing with players who are relatively young, and we haven't had that environment within the last 10 years. The environment hasn't been good at United, and I think that's universal. No matter who really has come in terms of players or managers over the last 10, 15 years, most of them have failed. Almost every player, almost every manager has failed so far. So we got a lot of work to do on that there. He had said on United's willingness to spend big money to break the bank on someone like an Mbappe. Now I think this kind of like stands out for itself. I wouldn't expect us season 1, season 2 to be making these kind of big signings. He says the first thing that you want to do is build a balanced squad and make the squad progress. Then maybe you end up with 1 or 2 players like Mbappe, but that's not the solution today. The solution is to try to make your own Mbappe, scout out the next one, sign the next one before he hits the big time. So that's kind of what we're doing. That's kind of what we're looking to do. I think it's pretty obvious. I don't think we're going to have £100 million to spend in the window just yet. I don't think we can afford to spend that much on one player when we need so many different players to come in and fill out our team. Nuba says, if we sign Loco, who would move on from Shaw and Malacia, because we were also promoting Amas to the first team. That's a good point. I'm a big fan of Harry Amas, and I think there's a really top player there. Whether or not he's ready for the immediate jump in this season is unclear. I think you're looking at Luke Shaw potentially coming to the end of his United career, maybe at the end of next season. He'll be 30 years old by then, or close to it, and depending on how these injuries keep adding up, there will be conversations had. Malacia, there's no guarantees with Tyrell Malacia. I think he's a player with a lot of heart and a lot of desire, and very passionate to be on the pitch. But I just think a whole season out, you maybe have to be realistic and look at that there as well. Nibba says, I've seen Nibba, sorry, it's Bart. United will never be Real Madrid under Ten Hag, as the club is 70 years behind him. Ten Hag will be 135 years old in 70 years' time. Yeah, that's probably true, Bart. I don't know if we're ever going to be able to operate at that level or have that genuine level of success for a while, but it's about taking those steps. I don't think I don't think it's the case that United are looking to be Real Madrid. I think that's a mindset. I think it's a goal. I think it's a long-term aim is to be that serious of a club that you can replace the best midfield in the world very seamlessly. Like you can go out and sign the best player in the world and bring him into your team. Like you can go out and win Champions Leagues, win league titles. Like you can be in a position to do that whilst upgrading your stadium, while still competing at the very, very top levels. And I think that's like the long-term aim of what we want to do. But really, Real Madrid, it's not a Galactico team anymore. This is a team who signed some of the best young players in the world from all over. Your Bellinghams, your Mbappes, your Vinicius, your Rodrigos. These are the type of signings that they've brought in with long-term aims. They've kind of gone and signed what you might call Galactico youngsters, and they've grown at the club. They've developed at the club, and Real Madrid's net spend over the last 10 years or so, very, very reduced. Very, very reduced. And really they've moved on with the full replacement of their iconic team that won the 3 Champions Leagues in a row. They've moved on to Mbappe and Vinicius, Rodrigo, Jude Bellingham, Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Valverde. It's a completely different team in terms of the outfield. Only really Courtois remaining from that kind of team as well. So very, very well-run club. That's what Ratcliffe wants to get to. I don't think we're going to get 15 Champions Leagues within the next 20 years. I would love it if we did, but I don't think we will. But I think what we have to do is try to achieve that mindset, try to achieve those goals. That has to be what we want to do. And Nuba said Madrid changed their model. They used to sign ready-made stars, but now they're aiming for the wonder kids. Yeah, absolutely. We need to be sustainable. Bart said we need to be sustainable, as we cannot compete with nation states. Absolutely, we can. So it's going to be about smart ways to run our football club. It's going to be about running the club in the right way. It's going to be about having the right model, the right vision, the right long-term plans for the future. That's what we've got to be doing. Guys, drop a like on the video if you can. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the sub button so you never miss a live stream or a video. Plenty more stuff coming out. And I guess we'll move on to the European Championships. As we know, very disappointing draw about 25 minutes ago for England. Really, really poor performance from them. And I think we as United fans could be very, very happy that Gareth Southgate is not going to be our manager, because there is very little there that impressed me today. There is very little from Gareth Southgate's team or his management, his tactics, and his substitutions and his selections that have inspired me to think that, yeah, Southgate would have been the guy for us. I'm very glad that he will not be Manchester United manager, and I am sure that you guys are feeling the exact same way about this as well. I'm sure you guys are saying, yeah, do you know what? I am so glad that it is not Gareth Southgate going to be our manager. And yeah, look, I think Ten Hag's got problems. I don't think he's the perfect manager, and I think he's got to work on it himself, but he's got to be better than Gareth Southgate. He's got to be. Yeah, I sooner would have had I sooner would have brought Graham Potter in. I sooner would have brought Big Sam in than Southgate, to be honest. Nibis is down there. Any word in Brantford? Rumour has United are ready to walk away unless Everton are willing to reduce the price. I think that's just a negotiation tactic, Nibis, because Everton need to sell and balance some of their books by the 31st of June. United don't want to spend too much money before that, because it isn't into the next financial year for the footballing side of things. So United's plan is to make Everton sweat. We're going to threaten to walk away. We might talk to different targets. We might look at different targets. We might even put in a bid that we expect to be rejected by another club for their player. If we really want to get him, we'll drive down the price, and that's going to be the plan with Jared Brantwaite. Guys, big ups and 23 likes. Much appreciated. I have 67 votes on today's poll as well. 82% of you guys think 34 million is a good price for Joshua Zirkzee. 12% said decent, and 6% no, it's not a good price for the player. You know, it's one of those ones, like, you could look at it and say £34 million for a guy who scored 12 goals last season isn't exceptional, but it's his game is more than just goal scoring. I feel he's a much better facilitator and probably gets more out of the players we have, and maybe that's the kind of different options that we need. But man, for any of you England fans, I really feel bad, because this is a genuine golden generation of England talent coming through, and they're gonna stick with Southgate, and it screams like when Belgium had Roberto Martinez, and they had this wonderful team of Eden Hazard, Lukaku, De Bruyne, Kompany, Alderweireld, Dembele, Witsel in there, Courtois, so many good players in there, and you just felt like the manager was just never the right fit, and he was never quite up to par with the players he had at his disposal, and he never got the most out of it. And Nibba said United need to act quickly. Chelsea are moving on Asaminho. Yeah, United do need to start to get a move on. I think we got deals lined up, and I think we will get deals done probably within the next couple of weeks. I would say by this time next week we probably get Zirkzee done. You probably have Brantwaite close to being done, in my opinion anyway. Bart said, what's England's best 11? What is our most balanced one? See, that's the thing, buddy. England's best 11 isn't the most balanced 11, and this is the problem that they ran into with their previous golden generation, maybe 15, 20 years ago. You know, they had Scholes, they had Scholes, Gerrard, Lampard, Rooney, Michael Owen, Ferdinand, Terry, Gary Neville, Ashley Cole. I think that a spate of different goalkeepers, but they try to shoehorn everyone into the team. I think what England need to do is get Trent out of midfield to start with. That experiment is just not working, and really, it never was going to work at a high level. You know, truthfully, he just doesn't know the midfield role, and it's not his fault. He isn't the midfielder. He can pass a ball, he can spread the play, but he is not a midfielder. So they got to get a Gallagher in there. They've got to get a Wharton in there. They've got to get a Kobbie Mainoo in there. That's what they've got to do. Put them alongside Declan Rice. I think they've got to look at that left-hand side. Not bringing a left-back might be one of the stupidest ideas I've ever seen from Gareth Southgate. Luke Shaw's not fit. You know, there's no left-hand side. Trippier is not getting up and down the pitch. Phil Foden wants to come in, and there's nothing on the left-hand side. You know, there's just absolutely nothing. So I think if I'm Southgate, I probably put either Watkins on the left, or I go for Anthony Gordon and try to get some speed on the left-hand side. Someone to run in behind. That's the first thing you do. Beyond that, I think you got to sort your midfield out, and you got to sort that left-back out however you can. Steph says, England midfield, Jude, Rice and Trent, very poor, no control, need Mainoo to steady the engine room. I agree, there's just no control. And, you know, very sloppy play from England today, very poor play for them across the board. I'm sure you guys all agree, for anyone who did watch. But if you want to watch what I think will be a very good match with some very, very good midfield play. I would say take a look at Italy versus Spain in 30 minutes time. That'll be a good one. It really will. Steph says Saka and Foden were too greedy. Yeah, there's just, I feel like they're trying to fit too many people in. You can't have Harry Kane drop deep into the areas where Bellingham and Foden are and nobody running beyond. You can't have no left-hand side for the most part like England have had. But it's Southgate's call. I think he's got it wrong so far, and I think he's got a lot of work to do. I don't think England's going to win this tournament at all. And I think some of the key players just not playing well enough as well. So he's come out here talking. What is this? Southgate says we don't have a natural replacement for Calvin Phillips. Calvin Phillips wouldn't be making the big difference like you want. You just see there's what have we got here? Oh, no, that's okay. That's okay. Guys, thanks so much anyway for watching so far. Make sure to drop a like if you guys haven't already. And yeah, look, I'm excited for that match later. I think it was an interesting match earlier between Serbia and Slovenia. Maybe not the best quality match I've ever seen, but some pretty interesting play out there. And we'll just find out how this develops across the rest of the European Championships. Anyways, any more thoughts, guys? Make sure to drop them in down below. Let me know what you guys are feeling at the minute about United's transfer business, about the Euros. You guys enjoying the tournament? Get them down there. We'll do some open questions, will we? If you guys want to have a shout. Nibis, I'm going to scout Calafiori. United need to seriously consider him if the Brandtweight deal falls through. Probably do. Steph says flexible 4-2-2 needed. I would agree with that. Bart said, you win a tournament by playing pragmatic football unless you're prime Spain. It's one of those, Bart, like, it's very hard to get a proper system into your players. I would say for the most part, if you're an international manager, you're just not working with them long enough. I would say the team that I think is going to win this tournament is Germany, because they are filling into a system that seems to be getting the best out of the players they have. And the system is very strong. The individuals within the system is very strong. I think you got a good point in Spain. That's the same for those players. A lot of them Barcelona players. They knew the system. They knew what they were trying to do, and they just went out there and did it. It is about being pragmatic, and I think England would have a much better chance, in my opinion, if they sat back. Whenever they sat back, they had genuine outlets, because Harry Kane isn't going to run in behind. You're not going to get it from Foden. You're not going to get it from Jude Bellingham. You might get it from Saka, but that's about it. That's about it. I have any news on Lindelof, says Nubis. Yeah, there's talk about Fenerbahce going in for Victor Lindelof. I would say kind of surprising, but Jose Mourinho did sign Victor Lindelof for United in the first place. Maybe he rates him, perhaps, and maybe that's a deal that he wants to do. Apologies if you guys hear me sniffing and stuff. I've got really bad hay fever, but it's too warm not to have the window open. But we're gonna be all right. We're gonna be good. We're gonna fire through this. Bart says France, Germany in the finals is your view. Yeah, that could be the final part, absolutely. And Nibba said Lindelof for 10 million aside, he's the Swedish captain. Yeah, but I just don't think, for me, I don't know. I just think we could move on and probably get rid of him at this point. I think maybe it is time to move on to someone else and someone different. Bart said Saka's lost the yard of pace after being overplayed. Yeah, it can happen. Like, it can happen. No doubt about it, Bart. Absolutely, that's a very distinct possibility with Bukayo Saka and a lot of other players. And hopefully England do find a way to manage it, because you don't want to see these young players burn out. You really don't. Guys, drop a like on the video anyway. I think we're up to 29 likes. Let's see if I can get that big 30 number as well, if you guys can. And yeah, look, I think what we'll do is just leave the stream here. I'm kind of struggling with the hay fever, and I don't know. So anyway, look, guys, go enjoy the Italy-Spain match. I'm going to go watch it now as well. Thanks so much for watching. Should be live again tomorrow, hopefully with more United news and some more European Championship reactions. Really appreciate everyone turning out, guys. Enjoy the football tonight, and I'll talk to everybody tomorrow.